Yes, please. Evening, everyone. Good evening. How are we? Excuse me while I get myself sorted out. If this is the first opportunity you've had to kind of gather with your church over the weekend and we haven't met yet, it's good to be with you. My name's Steve Rouse. I mentioned this morning the favourite son of Barry and Rosemary Rouse. I live in Balham, southwest London, with my family, with Lisa, my wife, and our son Jackson, who's a singer-songwriter, and our daughter Brianna is in Cardiff. I was sharing this morning that she's just begun her training for ordination, so she's going to become a vicar at some point. We're enjoying all of that. So it's great to be with you this evening. We've heard a lot over the weekend, wherever you've been, about worship. We've been thinking about whole life worship. And I wonder, from what you've heard, whether there's just been a little opportunity to dip into this, or whether you've been with us over the weekend, whether there's a phrase for you that makes you think, that's what worship is for me. That's what worship is. Whether, just think back, whether some of the phrases that you've been hearing or things you've picked up, what are the things that for you, or what are the words that come to your mind when you think of worship? Just ponder it for a minute. Even if you're hearing this for the first time, that's fine. And then just take, and I know people, my mum always says she loves doing this bit, just turn to those around you and talk to each other. And if you hate doing this, just say to the other person, you go first. And usually they'll just talk to each other. Just say the words that come to my mind when I think about worship, or this is what I think worship is. 30 seconds, maybe a minute. We'll see how the buzz in the room is. Just have a quick chat with each other. Okay, I'm just trying to read the room. Some people look like this is the most painful experience and they can't wait till it ends. Others are up for it. Just maybe if you're brave enough just to call out one or two phrases you're hearing, if it's on behalf of somebody else. What are some of the things that are coming up for you? Every day. Good phrase, thanks Babs. Every day. In ordinary things. I might not have to preach tonight, this is great. Anybody else? Being thankful.
Give praise, but that's as worship, but also praising people for what they do.
Oh, I like that. Give praise in worship to God, but also in what you say to others. Honoring God in all we do. Sacrifice. Any of the children fancy a stab at this? Go for it if you want to. I don't know how this normally works, but we'll... Oh, sorry. Go on, Ben, what you got? No? Mum's like, no, don't. Anybody else got one? Knowing that we do these things for God and not necessarily for other people. I've got two tiny passages of scripture. I wondered about reading a whole chunk, but sometimes maybe in the evening where we're not quite so, or I'm not quite so, let's just hold up my own hand. I'm not so whatever with it. Hebrews 13, 15 to 16, it says this. I haven't got a slide tonight, so just tune your ears in and try and hear it, try and listen to it. In Hebrews, this is right at the end of the letter, and so this is kind of in the wrap-up of the letter. This is what the writer says. Through Jesus, therefore, let us continually offer to God a sacrifice of praise, the fruit of lips that openly profess his name. And do not forget to do good and to share with others, for with such sacrifices God is pleased. Interesting, isn't it? Some of the words that we mentioned. Offer to God a sacrifice of praise. We talked about what we say with our mouths and so on. And then Romans 12:1, which is a verse that's kind of popped up a few times during our weekend. And this is from the Message paraphrase. It says, as Paul gets to this point, he's been talking about what the gospel is. And then he says, take your everyday, ordinary life, your eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. The title of what I want to share with you this evening is Worshipping God with Our Lips and Our Lives. Worshipping God with our lips and our lives. When I walked in the room tonight, I started to kind of look around the room, and I noticed we've got people from, who would be the youngest in the room? How many people who are like, Gary's got his hand. How old are you, Gary? 56. Oh, just ahead of me. Anybody? Ben, how old are you? Yep. 10. Anybody under 10? How old? 8. 12. Oh, this is good. What about the other? No, we probably shouldn't go there, should we? Start asking people. That's just rude. We don't want to know. Dad's 80, by the way. Anyway, but we've got all sorts of different ages. Listen up. When I was 8 or 10, I used to quite like singing when we were together as church, but my mouth on the football pitch in the playground was filthy. So when I was together like this, I liked some of the songs when we used to sing proper songs, that they were. Yeah, you're there. I liked singing. I quite liked too being in youth church and learning, and I had a sense even at that age of that God wanted me to live my life in a certain way. But when I got in the playground and on the football pitch, and I didn't really, if I'm honest, understand, but kids, I've not told my mum this, so she's here tonight. So just anyway, but I would just let out the F word, the kind of I would just go for it on the pitch. When I was a teenager, when I was 15, I started working at Five Ways in Clacton. I used to stack the shelves in the supermarket and collect I used to love collecting the trolleys. Oh, it's like, how many trolleys can you get in the... Has anyone been to Five Ways? Does it still exist? It's probably not there anymore. It's not. It's a Morrison's. Oh, is that gone up market or not? Anyway, I used to collect the trolleys in the car park, but the car park at Five Ways as it was, as you come into the store, there's a slope that goes down and around. I think my record was about 21 trolleys. But in those days, they didn't used to strap them together as you did it. You just used to have to go fast and hope that a customer on a Friday evening was not in the way as you tried to turn the trolleys in. That was the game. I remember on so many occasions losing them. Anyway, my shift started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and finished, I think it was about 8, 9 in the evening. At 15 years old, I would start my shift. Again, I haven't told my mum this. At 15, I would start my shift in the pub playing pool with the guys who I would be on the shift with, guys who were twice my age. And often over lunchtime, we would drink. I would try and drink with them. I would try and keep up with them before I went on the shift. So I would now I'm trying to think what the right number to say here is. Let's say I managed at least 2 pints of beer before we went on the shift at 15 years old. It did make the shift go a lot quicker. You weren't sure to laugh at that or not, were you? What I'm trying to say is, in terms of the reality of, it's easy, isn't it, to come here together and go, oh yeah, with our lips, we're going to worship God in our ordinary everyday lives. I get that. But the reality of the challenge of this, whether I'm 8, 10, 12, 15, 50, 56 or 80 it's a challenge, isn't it? Do you not find? It's a challenge. It's a challenge. Not so much for me, but I know for some in traffic sometimes. Just the language or the way we can be in those situations. Sometimes I still play the game of squash, and sometimes when I turn up to the squash court, I'm not sure I take part in everyday worship. Sometimes I more want to just kind of ground the other guy into the ground, or sometimes if he's annoying me, my life is not as I would want it to be. Now that we've kind of leveled the playing field, let's have a think about what we've been thinking about this weekend. So we've been thinking about worship. We're thinking about how our worship is not just that we worship God with our lips when we're singing together here, but it's lived out in our lives. And like Martin was saying as well, it's lived out through maybe the words that we use in our everyday lives. And sometimes some of us get caught up in all sorts of different things, don't we? Maybe gossip, maybe just the way we talk about other people when we're away from here or whatever. But Sam and Sarah, just as a quick recap, Sam and Sarah, who were the couple leading us on Saturday, they were saying things like this. They said, the key thing we want you to go away with today is that God is equally interested in what we do outside of the life of our gathered church as he is with what we do when we're inside the walls of a church. He's interested in how you live when you're playing sports, when you're with your friends. He's interested and knows where we go on these. And how people that are much smarter than me, they're saying that it's these that are, to use a kind of catechizing our lives today. These are the things that are really shaping our lives for many of us. What we watch, what we listen to, who are the influences upon our lives in terms of where we're going and what we're doing and what really matters to us. So I might sing to God and think, you're the Lord of my life, but some Miranda who lives in no other part of the world, who wears particular lipstick and makeup and dresses in a certain way and has her life looking the way that it is, you're like, oh, now that's what I really bow my knee to, as it were, in worship, to kind of shape my life. Does that make sense? Our lives are being shaped by things like that in ways that, and let's not be blind. And I know it's an embarrassing thing in some ways, but like even as young as like 10, 12, whatever, the way we think about the opposite sex, the way we think about that aspect of life is massively being shaped by that already. Let's not kid ourselves. So how we as a worshiping community, when we're together, how we equip each other, how we envision each other to be that worshiping community out in those places is key, isn't it? So Sam and Sarah were saying that. They were saying that we've said that all areas of life are potentially places of worship. That every activity we engage in is potentially a way that we can bring glory to God. But, as we've just described, that sometimes when we're in those places, we might not necessarily live in that way. They talked about how we tend to associate worship often with music. And we don't necessarily associate worship with the things that we do day to day. And they talked about how there's this Hebrew word for work called abad, which is the same word that gets used for worship. And there's some kind of connection between, and when you hear the word work, children, don't think necessarily those who get paid to do stuff. My work when I study at school, the work of, I know you'll all be great at keeping your bedrooms tidy. The work that you do there, it's hard work, isn't it? Like whatever it is, our activity is kind of connected to how we show that God is in our lives. So authentic worship for a follower of Jesus is whole life worship. That when I'm writing an essay at school or doing a project for school, or when I'm out with my mates, at the pub or whatever, or playing sports, or when I'm at work, that it's not that God's watching over me, but my life still is trying to reflect. I was like, am I showing that God is at the center of my life? So as we come to this evening, tonight is, what's the date today? 16th. Is it 16th? 16th of October, 2022. Sunday's the first day of the week, and we're about to enter into Monday morning and all that this week holds for us. And so we want to come, as we come this evening, to think about not just tonight but the week ahead, and think about what kind of sacrifice of praise do I offer to God? I want to do something with you just to try this. Anyone got their phones with them? Has anyone got a phone with them? If you can just stop playing the game on it just for a minute, that'd be great. We're going to try this. We'll try it. If this doesn't work, doesn't matter. We'll do it in a different way. I think you've used it before as a church. There's an app called menti.com. If you go onto, there you go. It's right there. If you go, it's a map of your area, the area where you live. If you type into your phone in your search engine just menti.com, and then, Steve, come on. You've made a right area. No, here we go. I've got the number. Menti.com, and then punch in the code 79331003. Don't worry if this is not for you, if it's beyond my ability in terms of technology, but if those of you can, 79331003, you'll get onto this page. Now listen, before you start playing with it or doing anything on it. Okay, you ready? The number slowly. So no, 79331003. Sorry, I'd forgotten I come back to printed. It's a little bit faster up in. I'm kidding. What I'm looking for here, yeah, I had that problem, Ben, trying to get, you're on it. There you go. Okay, so we talk, and you talk as a church about where your everyday front line is. Listen carefully. Your front line is the place you find yourself most of the time when you're with people that perhaps are not yet Christians. So it might be your school. It might be the street where you live. It might be your workplace. Attempt on the phone to try and drag that little dot and locate it roughly where you spend most of your time. Does that make sense? So just...
You've got to go to the next slide. The presenter.
Oh, you've gone on to... The number... We're going to be... 79331003. Is it not this page that's showing?
Yeah, but when you do it, then it says...
Why does it do that?
It then says you've got to click on the little arrow at the bottom. Can you see in the bottom left there's an arrow?
Oh, mate.
She goes on to the next slide.
Fran, if you press that little arrow, does it take you to the next, to what they need to be on? Is it live?
Yeah, I think that one.
Let's try that. If not, I'll abandon the ship. Are you on it? Anyone on it? Some are. It's all right. Don't worry that you're not seeing dots on the screen, because Fran's going to kind of make it live in a minute. But don't worry too much. Is everyone getting the same? Yeah. Is it not working? Oh, you go. Hey! It's not working for Mark. It is working. Okay. That's brilliant. All right. Keep trying if you can. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, man, I didn't think that would work. Okay. Well, it's starting to show a bit of a picture. Oh, that's interesting. So this is beginning. So you'll see that where you've got dots, where you've got 4 and 3, that's kind of the same, or different people putting their dot in the same kind of place. So a number of people, they would find themselves here during the week in Frinton, some in Walton, some in Holland, some in Clacton, some out in St. Osyth, some in the middle of nowhere. I don't know where that is. Great Bentley, some number go out to Colchester, and rightly so, some are already saying, I'm off the map, I go somewhere else. Some might even go into London, you might go out to Ipswich, I don't know, Little Oakley, some go in. Who goes into the sea? Whose is that? Whose is that? Somebody's like, where'd you go? Oh, yes. Perfect. That's where the Navy are, just right off the coast of Frinton. We are protected here. You'll be fine. There's more turning up. Hey, it's just a silly way in one sense, but this is, yes, what the scattered life of your church looks like from Monday through to Saturday, or Monday through to Sunday even. But also these are the places of worship. These are the places of worship. So sometimes when we hear that phrase, place of worship, we think of these kind of places. But these are the places of worship. The Bible would say in stories like Moses or whatever that about the holy ground. It's all holy. This is what our worshiping community will look like this week. These are the places that God calls us to go and live for him. Like we were saying this morning, to go and live cross-shaped lives. If worship is our lived response to God showing himself to us, so the more we get to know God, that we think we might learn new things about him, we think, oh, I want that to be expressed in my everyday life, then the definition of worship I gave you this morning was that worship is our response to God's revelation of himself, him showing himself to us, empowered by the Spirit, which finds its expression in every aspect of human life. So in everything that I do, the way I talk to somebody, the way I talk to my parents, the way I talk to my friends, the way parents talk to their kids, the way I talk to colleagues at work, the way I interact with, even the way you talk to somebody who phones you up to try and sell you double glazing. The way you talk to anybody is your worship of God. I joke with that, and it just passes through my head because I hadn't planned to say that. It's like, but that's often where we fall down. Because what we tend to do is compartmentalize our lives. Like, it's okay for me to kind of tear this guy to pieces on the phone because, well, everybody does, don't they? Because they just phone at the most inappropriate times and we don't treat them like human beings. And yet I'm dealing with somebody who's made in the image of God and, I should respect who they are. But that's true of everybody, whoever I'm dealing with. Sometimes when we're in the supermarket, I see people, I've sometimes been guilty of doing it myself, and you're on the phone while you're dealing with somebody across a counter or whatever, and you think, am I really kind of worshiping God in the way that I'm dealing with this person? And Romans says to us, take your everyday ordinary life, your eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. This is our sacrifice of praise that we offer to him. I want to show you a little film clips. Fran, thank you so much I know I threw that to you last minute, and I appreciate that we got there. Well, everybody did except Mark. But anyway, that was he got there. Just while Fran gets a chance to do this, because I'll show you a little film clip. So there's a number of different, I just think this is a great example of somebody worshiping in their everyday frontline context. So this is a guy, and he works on London Underground, and he's a Jamaican guy. So don't worry too much if you like. I've been in Balham 25 years, and the Jamaican accent's kind of a bit more familiar, but he'll be not always easy to understand. But hopefully you'll get a sense of just how this guy, he's a Christian guy, how he comes alive in the way that he does his job. Has that given you enough time to tell you that? Go for it, just show it.
London is my home. London is what made me who I am today. When I come to England to better my life, you know what I mean? In Jamaica, the opportunity wasn't there and everything. I just see myself as another human being who love people, who gravitate towards people. Very special Yabba Dabba Doo, Scooby Doo, good morning to you beautiful people. Service update, everything Chris, you know, yeah man, the vibes is nice, you know. Victoria Station is my home, you know, and the people come through is my family, you know. And when you come there, we just come together and we just collide together as one, you know. All the hot steppers in the house, welcome to Victoria Station, you know, to the nation, where they come from east, west, north and south at the border, you know. Get on board, this is a reggae train. Driver, it's your time, you know. Growing up in Jamaica, everybody's like a mini MC. I follow a lot of sound system from Stone Love to Bass Odyssey, Kilimanjaro, you know what I mean? And we have sound clash, you know? So everybody trying to say who can beat the other one when it comes to lyrical and everything. I do it for the humor of it, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you know? Make some plans for the weekend. Where they're going to hit the clubs. If you're going out for some rum and coke, some vodka and rum, with a slice of pineapple in the top of it, with a little umbrella. Even if you're going home to watch Aldi City and EastEnders, level the vibes. It's something I do easily, communicating with people, reaching out to people, you know what I mean? Beautiful people, beautiful vibes. Come this way, my brethren. Yo, rude boy, bust them shoes, my family, you know? I used to be in church and everything like that. I used to be a ushering and welcoming people, so it was always easy and just the way my parents grow me up, you know what I mean? I've been blessed by God to meet the people I meet on a day-to-day basis, you know what I mean? Big up your chest, one love, yes I. Nice it up and spice it up, you know? Show the massive some love, you know? Let's get jiggy with it, you can do it. Put your back into it, Ice Cube said it. What are you doing for the weekend?
I'm going up to Norfolk.
Go up to the guys again. This is some ugly looking guy look like me, they'll let you through, yeah? Wait driver. We have some elders getting on. Respect to the elders, you know? Stand clear. We got to get out of here, stand clear. Driver, official bad boy, the Mac Daddy, take these beautiful people away. I smile, you smile, the whole world smile. All we have to do is just see the best in each other and try and get the best out of each other. Enjoy your life and be happy, and don't let no one make it become sad and blue. Remember, life is too beautiful for that, you know? Happiness now is an inbound concept, you know? You have to make that choice to be happy. Everybody have happiness inside them, but you got to activate it, you know? Seeing the joy I can bring to the people and knowing that I've made a positive impact on their life and in their day. That's what made me happy. When you look what's going on in life, it's not easy out there. If you can make someone's day better, well, it's just a smile or a kind word, you got to do what you got to do. By making someone else day a better day, your day automatically work out to be a bright and a better day. My name is Carl Downer, you know? I'm a Jamaican living in London.
Did you understand anything he said? In our house, if you want to speak Jamaican, right, you're going to take the phrase bacon roll, okay? And just go bacon roll. So try it with me, bacon roll. There you go. That's as far as I get. I don't know. If they ever want to lose me, they start speaking patois and it's gone. I'm lost. Anyway, he said Victoria Station's his home. So think about the spot where you are. Whether it's a classroom, a playground, believe it or not, whether it's your workspace, your street, for some reason God's put you there. He's put us in those places. And there are people around us that he in one way has kind of put under our care to notice. And sometimes we need to kind of open our eyes to that and think, as I try and live my life to worship God, these are the people around me who God maybe wants me to speak to or to pray for or to care for. They're the ones right alongside me. I'm going to just say this, I think, because I think Sunday night, but it's one of the things that I think that came out of this for me that I think is perhaps significant. It's not particularly from those texts, but it made me think about how do we live lives where we worship God both with our lips and with our lives. In the Old Testament, in the book of Malachi, they had a system of bringing sacrifices to worship, literal kind of choosing of animals to bring to place on the altar to make sacrifice for and atone for the sins in their lives. And God says through the prophet Malachi to the people, "You have offended me." And the people asked, "Oh God, how have we offended you?" And God spoke to them through the prophet and said, "It's by what you're offering to me on your altars." Here's what they were doing. In the Old Testament, under God's instruction, there was a Levitical law. When you were going to present an offering to God, you went into your herd to find the absolute best prized lamb and then bring it to God and offer that lamb to God. And then you took the rest of your flock to market. But what people were doing when it came to sacrifice time, when it came to them worshiping in the temple in this way, the people actually went out into their herds and walked amongst them looking for the lamb that was sick or blind or lame or ready to keel over. The one that wouldn't bring anything at the marketplace. And then they took it and said, let's grab this one before it dies. It's just for God. And God came to the people through the prophet Malachi and sternly said to them, don't you ever give me a blemished lamb. Leave the altar empty before you bring that which is worthless to you and give it to me like it's a big deal. I wonder for us, as we go into this week, whatever the work is that we're going to do, whether we're going to push a hoover, clean a house, teach a class, write an essay, whatever it is that we're going to do, I wonder how often I go at what I do like I'm looking for just the poor lamb, the sick lamb, the broken one to bring to God. I wonder whether through my marriage with Lisa, as a dad with my kids, whether when I'm trying to live a life of worship before God to them, whether I give my absolute best to him. And church is funny, you know, because you can, like when I was a kid growing up, and even today we've talked about it, like we can get all dressed up, and most of you put your good teeth in this evening, and we kind of, we come together and we're like, I try and give my best here. Am I giving my best here? Every day of our lives there's a sense in which we offer up to God and make a sacrifice of praise to him by the way in which we live our lives. And I want to do, now don't let that be a kind of, oh gosh, that's a frightening thing. If I don't do my best, God's going to be angry with me. But you can see how in his sight they were kind of deliberately got into a rhythm of like, it doesn't really matter. I think God loves the sound of us trying. I think he loves the sound of us trying. And so there's many a day when I am just shot, I'm tired, and I'm not necessarily bringing my best. So let's be realistic about it. But I want my heart to be like, God, I want to give you my best. I want to live a life that worships you. So the fruit of our lips is, I think, a life that's lived out that backs up the words that we say. So that I say of God, I love you with all of my heart, but you can't say that and then not love the work colleague that's difficult to love. I know how church works. You can't say, God, would you forgive me at the communion table today? And yet every week you sit opposite somebody else in the church that you haven't spoken to for years because you've fallen out with each other. That's being a hypocrite. That's like just putting a mask on and saying, I'll just pretend it's not there. And it's not just in terms of within the church community. It's like, if I say with my lips that God is the Lord of my life, if I say to him that I appreciate his love and his forgiveness and his mercy, then that needs to go out and be seen in my life. I love the words, the last verse I think it is of the hymn, When I Survey the Wondrous Cross. It says, were the whole realm of nature mine, that were an offering far too small, love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. So I thought the way we would end this weekend together, or end this time together this evening, is by coming and offering to God our ordinary everyday lives. Hopefully as you came in, if you're with us this morning, did anybody bring a vacuum cleaner this evening? Oh, I really hope somebody... Have you got your vacuum cleaner? If you switch it to tea, Ali, it's like it'll really... I didn't know what you... I don't know. Did anybody bring some stuff? Did some of you have? Like, you're on it. Brilliant, brilliant. If you didn't, don't worry. You should have got a bit of paper as you came in. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do this, or just a minute or two to do this. You might, on that piece of paper, or you might as well on the piece of paper as bring in what you've got, you might want to write a confession. You might want to write, God, my life is not backing up what my lips say. You might want to express that in some way. Or you may want to draw an object that it kind of reflects your everyday life, whether it's your school study, your friendships, your kind of computer, your phone or whatever. Or it may be that there's another object for you that's like, this kind of reminds me of what I do day to day. Just you can either write it, describe it, or draw it. And then in a minute or two, I'll invite you to come and, as it were, like we're making a sacrifice of praise, to come and place it on this altar at the front, where already someone's placed like a laptop, their Bible, just whatever it is for you. So take maybe a minute or so. Maybe, should we sing while they do that, or should we just pad, or? That's fine. That's a small Hoover, Ali. That's a very... Just carry on, just write or draw just for a moment or two. Prepare whatever it is that you feel like at the end of this weekend, as we think about living our whole lives for God in worship. What are the things that you want to bring forward tonight? It's a real opportunity, I think, for us to respond. In our church in Balham, a lot of people, we don't have an evening gathering anymore, but and part of the reason we don't is because most people say to me, I'm getting ready for work in the evening, or I'm getting ready for school in the evening. And it made me think today, I thought, the fact that you do gather, I kind of thought, what better way is there to prepare for the working week than to get together with your Christian brothers and sisters, your family, and say, hey, Lord, this is how I want to prepare for the week ahead. I know I've got to get my bag ready. I know I've got to get stuff sorted, but what a great way to prepare for the week ahead. So just as you draw that, as you write maybe just some words of, oh, God, my language does not back up what I say on a Sunday when I'm with my church, or maybe you want to write some of that down. And we'll honor that. We're not going to read it or read it out or anything like that. Just whatever you feel like you want to offer to God this evening. In a moment, we're going to sing a song called Worthy of It All, which seems the perfect song to sing as we do this. And then Sarah's going to continue to lead us in sung worship. And then as we come towards the end of that, I'll just come up and just say, others know what's happening. I'll come and just lead us in a kind of prayer of commissioning as we offer these things to God tonight. If you're somebody that just, I don't know why it pops in my head, but if you would struggle to just wander down the front, maybe just give whatever you've got to somebody else if that helps. But I hope that everybody in the room will just find a time to be able to just come forward and place whatever it is you want to come and place. But when you're ready, while we sing, just you come forward, place your item or your piece of paper on this altar at the front, and then go back to your seat.
So there's a line in the bridge in this song, which is day and night, night and day, let incense arise. And it was so interesting that you quoted that Romans verse, because I prepared these songs on Tuesday. And I'm just going to read this to you. There's just this idea that it is constant, our worship, our sacrifice. It's day and night, night and day. And it's our incense. It's that fragrance to the Lord. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. This is what you're doing now. You're placing it before God as an offering. all the saints.